7 o'clock. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Allred,
Here.
Mr. Andreessen,
Here.
Mr. Fell,
Here.
Mr. Rose,
Here.
Ms. Sims, and Ms. Yu.
Here.
Okay, it looks like we have a quorum. Any changes to the agenda?
No changes to the agenda.
All right. Approval of the meeting minutes. We have no minutes to approve today. Communications. Do we have any communications?
No communications submitted.
All right, that brings us to our continued public hearing for this evening. Plan case number 2517M25, a request by Susan Norris on behalf of Charlotte Pug Holdings, LLC, to rezone 904 East Main Street from R3 Single Family Residential Zoning District to B3 General Business Zoning District. Do we have a staff presentation? All right.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. This case was continued from last December to allow staff to provide clarification regarding use intensity, compatibility, and comprehensive plan alignment. Tonight focuses on those items. So for the benefit of anybody who wasn't present at the last meeting, this is a request to rezone the property at 904 East Main Street from R3 single and two family residential district to B3 general business district. The applicant intends to redevelop the property in conjunction with the adjoining property at 908 East Main Street, which is already in B3 district and occupied by the Good Friends Animal Hospital. Staff wants to clarify that the rezoning of the property doesn't by itself authorize the expansion of the animal hospital. Any redevelopment or expansion of the property would require a separate conditional use permit and a site plan review, which would allow the city to evaluate the building scale, layout, parking, buffering, and compatibility with residential, surrounding residential uses. This distinction is important because tonight's action is limited to whether the zoning boundary should be adjusted to reflect the existing conditions along East Main Street. During the December meeting, the Commission expressed concerns about potential intensity of future commercial uses, particularly given that the site is located within neighborhood 1 place type. Staff acknowledges that neighborhood 1 areas are intended to remain primarily residential. However, Imagine Urbana anticipates neighborhood serving commercial uses along neighborhood edges and corridors, particularly where such commercial uses already exist. So, East Main Street already includes businesses, as you can see on the map along the corridor. We already have like zoning district which are in B3, and also the proposed rezoning doesn't introduce a new commercial corridor, but rather extend a B3 parcel to allow a coordinated reinvestment and redevelopment. It's important to note that while B3 zoning allows a range of commercial uses, development standards still apply. These requirements include setback, height, parking requirements, and buffering. In addition, higher intensity uses require a conditional use approval, which provide another opportunity for public input and for the city to impose conditions to ensure compatibility. Staff evaluated this request using LaSalle and Sinclair criteria. I'll summarize key findings. First, compatibility. The property is directly adjacent to a B3 district and aligns with the development along the development pattern along East Main Street. Second, public health, safety, and welfare. Redevelopment would remove a deteriorated structure, improve the neighborhood conditions, and support a long-standing business that contributes to the local economy. After that, suitability and hardship. The structure is no longer habitable and it has been demolished, and retaining R3 zoning would prevent a reasonable redevelopment. And planning intent, the request aligns with the Imagine Urbana's support for incremental development and neighborhood serving commercial uses. Staff find that the proposed rezoning support incremental redevelopment, remove a deteriorated structure, and support for a coordinated reinvestment along East Main Street. The rezoning doesn't by itself allow for an expansion, any redevelopment and expansion would require a conditional use approval. Staff finds that the request complies with the comprehensive plan and would not be injurious to the surrounding properties. In conclusion, staff recommends approval. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. C. Any questions for staff? Mr. Rose?
I have only one. I think in your second slide, third slide, stated animal hospital as the use. Animal hospital per se is not listed in table V1. Pet care and grooming is one use, and another is veterinary hospital for large animal and small animal. I don't see, well, okay, animal,
Yes, this,
veterinary
correct.
jumped out at me. That's a minor issue. I need not continue this discussion.
No problem.
But you are referring to veterinary hospital.
That's correct.
Small animal,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other questions for staff? Can you remind us, this might have been mentioned in the memo and maybe it was mentioned in the last meeting, but how long has the house that is currently on the site been unoccupied? Do you know?
I'm not sure if we know the exact date, but
Okay, so the house is gone. Do you know? Yeah.
has been demolished
And it was purchased in
last year.
September, okay. Okay. And it's been torn down since then? Okay. Okay, I'll ask another question then. So you mentioned that, you know, for more, in the B3 zoning district, for some of the concerns that were brought up in the last meeting by Plan Commission had to do with, you know, all of the other uses that are allowed by right in the B3 zoning district that could potentially, you know, someone could propose for this site irregardless of what the current use is and the current plan is. Some of those, you mentioned that some of those require a conditional use permit, which is true, but some that are fairly, you know, could be problematic to be across the street from residential, you know, single-family development are allowed by right. And I'm wondering what sort of mechanisms exist to address the performance of those potential uses should they eventually, should that possibility arise in the future where, say, like a tavern or a nightclub, for example, is allowed as by right, a permitted use in the B3 zoning district. Not to say that the current owners plan to sell to someone next year and allow this to happen, but we're rezoning something that, you know, we have to think about the long-term ramifications of that. So if someone were to buy this property 5-10 years from now, what would be the mechanisms to address the compatibility of someone coming in and saying they wanted to open a bar on that? Are there any performance restrictions that could apply because it's a permitted use?
So the mechanism that exists is the dimensional standards of the zoning ordinance, like the setback, building height, parking requirements, buffering if it's close, near residential use, and also, parking requirements and landscaping.
Okay, but there's no operational restrictions, I guess is what I'm getting at. Like, we would default to relying on the noise ordinance, for example, to deal with, you know, the impacts of a potential use like that. Okay, just,
There is the 100-foot buffering requirement between the commercial property and the nearest residential use. And so theoretically, with the bar, if the activity were interior to the bar, there would be noise mitigation through that buffering requirement. But that is correct. Our understanding is there are no like operational restrictions as applied by the zoning ordinance, but the noise nuisance would control in that instance if noise is the primary concern.
okay. This is more a question for, well, I'll ask this question for staff since it was in the memo. It was mentioned in the new text that was added to the memo that, where is it? That the applicant indicated that the subject property would remain vacant in the near term or be used for a parking lot, and that there's no immediate plans to redevelop it. Is that
That's correct.
correct?
We
Okay.
might want to invite the petitioner to speak specifically to that. Our understanding is there are no immediate plans in place for expansion, although that is the long-term intent.
Okay.
But we can invite the petitioner to speak to that.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions for staff in the meantime? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this point, we'll give the petitioner the opportunity to address the commission if they'd like. After which, we'll open it up to the public to provide comment. But I'm assuming you're both with the petitioners. Okay. So, yeah. Once again, we have no members of the public. But
Hello
right.
again, I'm Susan Norris. So the plan would be sometime in the next 12 to 18 months we were thinking we would build out a little bit, actually not super far because the property lot is very, very small. So the goal would be to build out just a small amount, but I need to get financing in place, so there's no immediate plan to do that, but that is the goal over the next year, is to do that and work with the city to try to figure out how far out we can go in order for it to be, that everyone is covered and there's no problems. I was thinking, one of my clients is a surveyor, and I was thinking about joining the lots so that it would be consolidated into one lot. So that way you don't have two separate lots that are a B3 that might hopefully negate some of the concern, because the current lot is a B3, so you would still have one lot that's a B3 in that area as opposed to two that could be split up. So I've already enlisted the help of somebody to kind of just go out and survey it and kind of get the boundaries so that we could work to get that done fairly quickly, to do it as one lot. It would be easier for me too to just have it as one single lot as opposed to two separate lots. The property was demolished this week. It looks really nice. So much better. So very, very happy, but happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the petitioner?
Actually, there's something I'd like to add. So in part of our research in preparation for this revised memo and just in preparation for this evening, I spoke with Nick Hansen, who's our building inspector. And actually, Ms. Norris and the team over at Good Friends Animal Hospital have been thinking about expanding their property, and please correct me if I'm wrong, for at least over a year. I think conversations with the city started back in September or August of 2024. And I know you were exploring options of expanding vertically, potentially into the attic, or expanding into a temporary office trailer. So I know this has been a long process for you as you've explored all of your options. internal expansion was not feasible, and I think the use of the accessory office trailer was also not feasible based on our plan review at the time. So I want to add that the applicant has been pursuing opportunities and options for expansion for some time. This has been definitely well thought out, and appreciate your patience through the process. But I think that helps to highlight the need for additional office space on site.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Any other questions for the petitioner? All right, thank you.
Okay, and if it would help, I would be willing to sign like a memorandum saying that I will combine the lots. I want to make sure that everyone feels good about what we're doing to try to protect the neighborhood, just to put that out there.
Okay, thank you.
Subdivision or combination of the lots would be, in this case, most likely a minor subdivision, and that would be an administrative action that would be handled by the planning division. So it's pretty standard practice, and we are happy to walk you through that when the time comes. Yep.
All right, normally we would open the public input portion of the meeting, but seeing as we have no members of the public, we will close the public input portion and move into discussion amongst the commission members and possibly vote. So, any discussion?
I'll go. I was thinking about this case today in the rezoning of the next property, and it sort of occurred to me that one of our recommendations kind of was to get the zoning equal across the lots. But the only reason that this veterinary hospital exists there is because when Urbana redid all their zoning many years ago, there was a gas station there. So it was zoned B3 to allow the gas station to remain. And if the gas station wasn't there, it would probably not have been zoned B3. It probably would have stayed R3, in which case the veterinary hospital would have never been able to be constructed to begin with. Now, having said that, I think that's a great addition to that neighborhood and our community. That was our vet for a very long time. It is horribly landlocked, and I think this is the highest and best use of the lot next to it is to let this business expand, and I'm all for that. I am a little conflicted, as you said, that we have to plan for 30 years from now and not 2 years from now. So that opens up a whole different category. I don't know how we protect our desire to help this business with our need to protect the community in the future. That's a dilemma to me. But I honestly believe that the expansion of this facility onto the lot next door is the absolute highest and best use of that lot, and I'm all for that.
But
Ms.
I
Yu?
do want to point out that north of the East Main Street, this is not a spot of B3. It has a lot of mix with B3, B2. So it is a pretty intentional business use strip. So I do not see a problem.
Yeah, Mr. C, could you put that slide up there that showed the zoning and the surrounding parcels again? Yeah, this is something that I looked at before the meeting and started thinking that what we really have here is kind of a corridor that's emerging. And so that makes me feel less concerned about allowing some of these potential uses that are allowed by right in the context of when you look at the larger expanse of this section of Main Street, it seems to be moving in that direction. I think, this might be something, we just approved a new comprehensive plan and we didn't identify this area as a corridor in that plan, and maybe that's something that we'd want to provide a little bit more nuance in terms of how we think about this area based on current uses and current zoning. not to say that we need to go back and make a change right away, but I think it's something that if we are making this argument that allowing these more intense uses along the stretch of Main Street are something that makes sense, then I think it makes more sense to think about this as a corridor as opposed to just a residential neighborhood. Mr. Rose.
At our discussion at the last meeting, the issue of B3 allowing by right other issues or other uses that which we might feel a little bit uncomfortable came up, and I think that was in our minds as we continued it to today. So I think that's a valid concern. But I reviewed table V1, and this is a small animal veterinary hospital. I think it very strongly meets that criterion. Those are not permitted in B1 or B2. So in my view, compliance between the zoning and the use outweighs ideas that we could have concerns about future uses that might make us uncomfortable.
Any other discussion? If not, are we ready to make a motion?
I'm prepared to move for approval of, I don't have the wording in front of me.
Recommend approval?
Approval of case 2517-M-25 for the reasons that were expressed by staff.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Rose. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second by Mr. Andreessen. Any discussion on the motion?
I'll have a little discussion. I mean, I hold to my original opinion, but I would also like to add that I think I agree with the notion that this is becoming a corridor, and I believe that these owners want to expand their business. So I have faith that by the time the lot would turn over, because this business folded, is a very long time from now, and the entire neighborhood is going to look very different. So because of that, I'm willing to grant my approval to this.
Yeah, and for me, the deciding factor is, again, looking at the larger expanse of this area, this section of Main Street, and seeing just how mixed it is in terms of the zoning and how it seems to be transitioning to a corridor with more intense uses, as well as the fact that we do have, other laws, ordinances that we can rely on to address any kind of nuisance issues that might arise in the future were some of these other by right permitted uses to be proposed for these parcels. Any other discussion on the motion?
I do want to add one more thing, that we've continued this case now, so the public has had at least 2 chances to weigh in on the case, and so far I believe we've had 1 communication, which was wholly positive for the rezoning. So that is another reason I'll vote for it.
All right, seems like we're ready to vote. Could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mr. Fell?
Yes?
Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Ms. Yu,
Yes.
and Mr. Allred.
Yes. All right, that motion passes. Do we have a date for council for that one?
Apologies, that was on me. No. I'm sorry. We're going to the committee of the whole on the 20th. That has been rescheduled because of the MLK Day weekend. But our packet submission deadline is actually the Tuesday before, so we've missed the next committee of the whole, or the next closest committee of the whole, which would be the 20th. So then we'll meet 2 weeks after that.
Okay.
So it'll be in early February when a decision will be made, and it will be noticed in the appropriate ways so the public will be able to participate.
All right, sounds good. So look for that to go to council sometime in mid-February. Okay, old business, we have none. New public hearings, we have none. New business, we have none. That brings us to audience participation. You are now our audience. If you'd like to address the commission on any topic of your choice, not this case, but anything, you have 5 minutes. No takers? All right. Staff report, anything from staff?
Yes, actually, some exciting news, and I know that Terry was able to circulate the link for the recently posted principal planner position. So that will be, that's currently live online on all city web pages and associated job boards, so LinkedIn, Handshake, Indeed. And we will be keeping the post open until January 23rd. That's the priority deadline for applications. And then, so that's very exciting. And then similarly, another hiring update, which I believe I've spoken to before, but we will be welcoming our Planner 1 on January 26th, which is very soon, a Monday coming up at the end of the month. And she will be joining us from South Bend, Indiana, with a historic preservation background. And then I do have, so that's the positive news. And then the less positive news that we do need to discuss tonight is that we've been experiencing some really serious fraud, actually, coming from the planning inbox in particular. And so I'm happy to answer questions. I'll give a summary, and then if you have clarifying questions, we'll go from there. But essentially what happens is, because of our public noticing requirements, we post packets to the website. The website then gets crawled, so the applicant's information and details of the case are then captured in however this is happening and repackaged into a fake invoice. Those fake invoices are being emailed from a spoof account that looks like the planning inbox. It has a City of Urbana logo incorporated in it. It has formal language that's pulling directly from the memos, so it looks and feels real. It feels like it has technical information in it, and that's been going out basically to every app. We've been receiving multiple complaints over the last 6 months, and so applicants are consistently being targeted in this way. And so we're working with IT. We're also working internally to make sure that we can sort of get ahead of that in advance, but we're going to be implementing some best practices moving forward, and we do ask our commissioners to be vigilant and help spread the word. If you receive an invoice from the planning division or the City of Urbana by email, it is likely a fraud. Terry or Ms. Andel only collects payment at the beginning of the application. It's part of how we qualify in the planning division. A complete application is payment. And then we would only ever bill again for the legal ad in the News Gazette. And then there may be a third instance that we bill, but it would be it's application, legal ad,
Subdivision, skit, recording.
and a recording fee. So there's 3 possible payments, all of which are going to likely be under $1,000. The fraudulent invoices that have been going out have been over several $1,000s. They're also requesting payment by electronic transfer. So that's another indication that it could be fraud. We'll never, first of all, don't pay it. Call us first to verify, but never share wiring details with anyone if you haven't verified it. And we're going to, as a result of all of this, we're updating our email signature to add a warning, and then we are also redacting any personally identifiable, I guess, information in the applications. And we need to work with the city clerk to make sure we're not violating any sort of practices or requirements for the Opens Meeting Act, and also transparency around who the applicant is. But I think best practice will be to at least take the email out, and maybe a portion of the last name. So we could leave the first initial of the last name and redact the remainder or something like that. So stay tuned, but we're doing everything we can, and we ask that you help spread the word and spread awareness. And if any of you have recent application or will be submitting applications in the future, do be aware. So any questions on that? Sorry, it's an unfortunate reality of the times we live in.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for the update.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have no study session, correct? That means we are adjourned at 7:36. Thanks, everyone.